Hello, Perry.
Okay, stop.
I know we're chatting, and I've got to start this recording sometime. We'll be up here all night chatting before we get this show started.
Are you?
When we chat, I don't know how well, I can't speak for you, but this telepathic transformation, this awakening of consciousness is going on the whole time we're talking. Because for my part, I'm not really talking in words. That's just the outer manifestation of it through this body. I'm communicating with you telepathically. That's not psychic. I'm not putting psychic things down. It's just that psychic energies involve the positive and negative stream, 4 lower dimensions. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm going to take note.
Okay. The etheric, mental, causal, and astral planes, which are major divisional divisions of the lower physical matter planes and different higher levels. There's less negativity mixed in matter in the etheric plane. So when people think of master bodies, you know, and they see pictures on the internet of transparent beings that are masterful in robes, and that's all in the etheric plane. Bodies are made of much finer matter there, and beings are less physical and more, well, etheric. In the mental plane, people can have and do have solid body forms there, but they're not as bound to them as they are in the lower worlds. Everything is moved there by thought. In the causal plane, energy there is moved through cause and effect through will, but it's not moved around like it is on the physical planet Earth, where you have to push things through effort to get things to happen. In the astral plane, above the physical, everything is moved and created and moved around, and people fly through the air and motivate everything through emotion. Feeling moves matter around in that plane. Why is this important? Well, because people on Earth, for the most part, do not know what it is they're doing, what life they're living on these other planes, because as a single solar Atma, they're running a number of these forms, living separate lives on these different planes simultaneously. And there's a part of them still in the source, in Prime Creator, that never left. They don't understand how this is possible because they have been brainwashed to think in terms of being a body with a brain. And the brain has got nothing to do with the Atma, the real being, who runs that brain and that body. They are not the same thing. So, deep down in people on Earth, they're frustrated because they know something was done to them that made them forget everything. I don't care how devout they are as a religious practitioner, what faith they have. Down deep, they're in mystery. They don't know. They only have something to believe in. Someone tells them from outside while they're growing up. But they don't remember who they were before they came to this earth and found themselves incarnated in a body here with no memory or very little of it. And they're suddenly going, how did I get here? What am I doing on Earth? Part of enlightening and recovery of long ago suppressed memory and higher faculties happens when a being says, I'm on Earth? What am I doing on Earth? Like it's a big shock, like they're not supposed to be here, at least not unconscious as that. This begins a process the Atma generates from the core of their being, no matter how suppressed they've been by what tyrants and how many bodies have been killed and all that stuff. A part of them is still residing in the higher worlds. And that begins to surface right on Earth through a body that being's running at some point in its evolution over billions of lives. Right now, the greatest potential in the universe for awakening godly people to co-create new ways of running this whole creation is right on this suppressed planet. Because the beings that are here, many of them, at one time, were very advanced, and they knew how to move around as an Atma, travel among the stars, play in spaceships. This is old stuff. This is not new. Running around in anti-gravity ships in the future, most people think, wow, We got to develop this great technology way later on. What they don't know and don't remember is that technology is very old. And that once before they lived on this earth, they knew about it and played in it themselves. Before something happened that resulted in them being here on earth with no memory. So what do most people do? They say, well, it's God's will I'm here. Well, partially true. The godly nature of themselves, made of the very same energy as the source, that's true. But there wasn't some being up there in the source that commanded them to come to earth, dumber than a brick with no memory, and try to get it right with none of their past wisdom intact from millions of lives. How are you going to get it right when you don't have access to that? So it really isn't so much about becoming enlightened in some new way. That's part of it. But it's about recovering what you once knew and higher faculties first, so you can make real, true, free will decisions about what you will create next and how and why. People on earth don't remember even what they look like as an Atma, the soul. They just think this is some projection of what soul looks like. This is not true. The Atma, the individual, does not look like a human physical body. That's one of the first things people are made to forget. Because if you can't remember that, how are you going to move it around the universe? How are you going to get in and out of bodies while you're still alive? Which is normal for billions of beings on many worlds in the physical universe in this galaxy alone. People on Earth, they're not told by their governments or anybody else here, taught by their religious or spiritual teachers here, very much about this. And that's because the people trying to teach other people don't learn or read either on some level. And everybody's trying to do the best they can down here, but they don't really not working on all thrusters. You know, they don't have all their higher faculties. They don't even remember who they were before they were born here. And they think that's normal or God's will. It is not. Something put them here without that person's consent and compelled them to incarnate here in a body with no memory. Now that should be obvious to anybody that has any awakened common sense. I would have to say that what I do and the work I do with beings from other worlds and other realities has to do with helping people to have the direct experience of recovering what was suppressed in them long ago. First, and that isn't data or information. That won't help anybody do anything. Direct experience, each individual's own direct experience, is the only thing that will actually change them. Talking about extraterrestrials and what went on and all this is good history if you know it. The real history of Earth and the solar system, the galaxies and the dimensions and all that stuff. But it doesn't do any other person any good if all you do is tell them about it, but you don't assist them to recover it for themselves. Like I said, people on Earth are trying to do the best thing they can with what they have to help each other wake up. There's radio shows, you know, people are becoming aware that extraterrestrials probably exist. They pretty much know it all over the planet, but they don't remember the experience of being one themselves. Because if they did, much would change here for the better. Their understanding of what they call divine spirit, who they are as an individual Atma, what people call soul more correctly in other worlds. They understand what it is. They don't believe it. It's not faith. They know what it is. They know what the source is. They know their co-creative relationship with it. People on Earth have been deliberately manipulated to not know any of that. When they grow up in this culture and this planet, they're never taught this by anybody. They never grow up confident with getting in and out of their body, which they have to do when the body dies anyway. So what the heck? They might as well know how to do it while they're still alive, have the body healthy. They just don't understand that this is really normal for many people on many worlds in the physical universe alone. It's true that way in some parts of the astral, causal, mental, and etheric planes as well. The primordial first sound behind all creation that we are comprised of as individual teardrops or individual beings in a great ocean of this one energy. many higher planes above the whole lower dimensions, is where we all come from originally, whether we remember it or not. When a being begins to remember who they are and what they were at the source before they started this journey, they can begin to create in the upper worlds new ways of doing things with countless other majestic beings that are busy changing the way the lower dimensions are run for the first time. If you can't change it, you can't change anything down here, good and bad, fighting each other all the time and all that stuff, unless you can first change it up there. Most people are incorrectly taught that they can't comprehend the supreme source, God, the supreme being, and all this stuff. This is not true. One Atma, not the body, not the brain, but the individual spherical shaped energy that comprises an Atma, has the faculties and capability of comprehending the source and co-creating with it. Because that's our real purpose for existing as beings, is to learn how to do that and do it well. How to do it and be trusted with it. People on Earth and other worlds are being trained one day to govern or oversee whole vast territories of the multiverse. And they don't have any idea that's what their future destiny is. Why should they? Nobody's ever mentioned it to them growing up. It's not talked about this way on any radio show I've ever heard of on this planet yet. But it is true all the same. I would have to say that when a being begins to think and imagine on a galactic and an interdimensional scale, they begin to embrace a much larger love for all life, which allows them to play in a much larger arena of the other heavens and worlds that are in creation. And until they can do that, they will not be allowed to play in it. That's just because beings aren't going to tolerate people on Earth coming out there with their fears and terrors and subconscious stuff and muck it all up. They do a good enough job mucking things up right here on Earth. So people on Earth need to really be liberated to remember true free will first. They think they have free will, but how can you have real free will if you don't remember who you are, where you came from, what your heritage is from other worlds? Human beings never evolved on this planet in the first place, ever. Never, at any time. Not a single race that's on this planet ever evolved here as that race. They evolved in this form, slight differences in human appearance and eyes and skin and all that, on other world systems where the entire planetary systems are predominantly that type of difference in human appearance. And then they were brought here. That's why we have so many different kinds of races of humanoid and human beings here, bumping heads to each other unconsciously. Different religious beliefs or vague remembrances of how the Supreme Source was worked with co-creatively on other worlds. Whether it's Buddhism or Christianity or Muslim or Hindu, any of that. None of that really originated on this planet. It was brought here by colonists and by people who explored other worlds many millions of years ago, way before the history of what people think is history for this planet. There's so much that people are capable of recovering given the right circumstances and conditions. People on Earth, as they're told growing up, have a subconscious mind. And they're taught by psychologists and psychiatrists that suffer from the same subconscious terror that this is normal. It isn't. A normal human being or an Atma running a body on a liberator or other world systems do not have subconscious minds at all. Because subconscious means you're not aware of it, and whatever somebody can know of a technology otherwise to manipulate what's there, then they can do what they want with you and you don't know it's being done. It's subconscious. The way you control human beings for their energy or as slaves is to create a field of energy around the Atma, the spherical true nature of the being that cannot be destroyed or damaged, really. and get it to see through those images, their colored, distorted images about what they perceive reality in the universe to be. And they are artificially created, most of them, terrorizing images of torture, fear, and domination by some race that wants it to make itself superior over human beings. And so this is subconsciously in there. And when people try to recover the memory of who they were and what they knew before they were brought here, then these programs will play on the nervous system, but without the sound and sight being played with it. It's occluded or suppressed. But the feeling of the terror remains, playing on the consciousness of a person, and that misdirects where they need to go and what they need to do to recover. That's primary trap, sinister, diabolical suppression technology 101. And it's very old. And it's very illegal outside of this planet. It was done to people here, one way or another, long ago. The process that's underway now out in the universe and here is to reverse that. But this is a very recent undertaking from Galactic Alliance people and races out among the stars that are very much aware of Earth and the beings who are here who don't remember who they are. What is underway now is moving in one direction. There is no power on this earth or off this world, nor technology, nor classified system, nor political or hidden government here or in other worlds that can prevent or forestall or hold back what is underway now for their own good. There are people in classified systems on this planet that know something's afoot, underway. They don't understand it, and they may be afraid of it, but they also know that whatever it is has not attacked them or forced them to do anything. It's a puzzle for them. What it means all is really that the very people that are running things on this earth on behalf of people where they know what's going on with extraterrestrials to some degree, and they don't want the people to know. They're doing it out of fear. Mostly fear of what people will do when they find out the truth to them. This is not really something they have to be concerned about, because the way this process is unfolding has them in mind in a beneficial, uplifting way to change as well. No one's going to be caught and shot, put up against the wall, or nothing like that. Because people that are at one time thought it was best to classify all this extraterrestrial stuff for the good of the planets until people were ready to be able to handle it. Let's just say that that was probably done with good intentions at the time, but it's no longer necessary. And they're just having trouble letting go of the past. And it's coming, and they know it. But it's not designed to be destructive. It's not designed so beings from other worlds can come here and take over. No. That's what tyrants do. The great majority of beings in the universe that are not tyrant in nature know how to do this on a planetary scale. They know how to help people recover who they are. And now, for the first time, they're motivated to do that. I'm kind of like the guy on the surfboard at the crest of a wave coming ashore from a mighty ocean. Just kind of like boots on the ground, friendly friend from out of town, someone who's just helping this happen, not as a threat to anyone, but as something that will help set them free to be who they once were, to recover who they are, to move in a new direction that's non-destructive for the good of all life on this planet. We do this, and we'll be allowed, be invited, including the technology, to play among the stars as a planetary culture. The thing people on Earth need to get is that not only are we not alone in the universe, but the vast majority of races out there are more advanced, kind, highly spiritual, may more advanced technologically, but the majority of them are not tyrants. And we cannot go out in space and carry this unconscious fear and classified this and that out in ships and go out and take over planets on the other worlds. It's never going to happen, ever. Never, ever, never. Because space is already occupied by more advanced races in many cases. If we want to play with them, we got to mature and step up to bat as a human culture. And we will be given it freely to do that. But we got to change first. So that's what's underway now. Okay, enough said on that. Here's the thing about it. Truth is true for all, or it's not true at all. It means that what's true for all the worlds in the universes of time and space and in the higher parallel and higher dimensions, all the way across the void, way up into the upper worlds, what is true in it is true for all. And it's the same truth for everyone. Everyone experiences truth differently as a unique being, but universally the truth is the same. Doesn't matter what people believe. There is a truth behind all truths of belief that goes beyond faith into direct knowing experience. Good faith, any faith, should lead to direct experience. That is the hope for goal in having faith or belief in anything, is that one way or another, beings will cross paths with other beings that will help them have direct enlightening experiences so that they can know for certain, without doubt, what truth is for themselves. Well, I suppose we should go on a little bit of a journey here. What I mean by this is that we will go on a journey to utilize the creative imagination properly. What does it mean by properly? Well, I'll give you what's improper. Improper use of the imagination is growing up on a planet and thinking it's right to send out good things from one direction for yourself and your family and be terrorized about your own future destiny and afraid of the future and afraid of the planet's going to blow up. And that creates, from the whole being, a stream of two energies that are opposed to each other. One positive, one negative. And they neutralize or ground the energy of creation and keeps people stuck on Earth. People don't know they're doing this, but they are. It's because they've been manipulated to misuse their imagination in this way. Normally, they wouldn't do this. The correct use of the imagination, which, by the way, has nothing to do with the human brain whatsoever. The human brain is not designed to imagine, like people on Earth mistakenly think. That's not what its function is. The being that runs the body and operates the brain is what imagines. And it does this better when it's out of the body and freer in a higher reality, because it has access to higher faculties than a human brain and body will allow. So the brain has nothing to do with this journey we're about to take. I always work with what we call the hue in any language on Earth or any planet. When these two words in English are brought together to sound like hue, round and whole, this is not owned by, copyrighted by, patented by, or possessed by any being in any organization on any planet in any dimension in all of creation. It cannot be possessed. And if anybody tries to possess it, they're in for trouble. Because it's like water running through your fingers or trying to grasp air. It will break through anything you try to capture it with and go out through the other side and teach people a lesson along the way. It is a living energy, like we are, but it's omnipresent. That means it's everywhere, connecting everything together. It is not protons, electrons, and neutrons, quarks and quasars and anything else you can think of. It is something other than that, deeper than that, that is the source that creates the movement of electrons around atoms and all this kind of thing. Suns exploding their nuclear reactions to create heat and stay there exploding, keeps it all in balance. The void of space doesn't have oxygen in it in the physical universe, but it does have this energy running through it. I don't care if they call it black matter or dark matter. It's actually, to the vision of the Atma, quite bright. But you can't see it with physical eyes because the physical eyes and the rods and cones in the eyes are designed to detect a very small spectrum of the whole energy. People can't see X-rays and ultraviolet either, but it's forms of light on different frequency levels and forms of sound beyond human hearing. So the Atma is capable of perceiving all this and knowing how to work with it, to get around, travel on it. The human body and brain is not designed to understand that. I mean, you can get the body to, disappear from here and go somewhere else, but it's the Atma doing that, not the brain. You don't wake up a chakra in the brain and then the brain does something now. The chakras align in the outside of the energy field, the body, as energy transducers to take higher energy through the body and keep things working. But that isn't the being. The chakras are not the being. The spinal column, the brain, and all that is not the being. The being's running it like a machine. This human body's run at 98.7 degrees Fahrenheit. It's a carbon-based machine created through DNA and reproduction, but that's a function of how bodies are reproduced in this physical plane. And it works differently in other worlds and other systems. And people don't know this because they're often never given the chance to experience other realities. They think they have to wait till they die to go to some heaven to know truth. But this is not accurate. They need to wake up wherever they are and understand it while they're alive, so when they translate or leave this body, they take that consciousness with them. The rule of thumb is you can only have as much of God as you can imagine. No more, no less. This is a universal law, which means we need to imagine being able to play and be amongst beings respectfully all over creation, if we want to play in creation in that kind of a way. The being, not the body, has the capability to play in the whole multidimensional creation in this way. So it really makes a big difference if people recover what they are as a being and keep the body a separate issue. Because most people are only aware of running a body on this planet. This is not what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing elsewhere. When a person goes to sleep at night, the body goes into the trance state called sleep. The being gets out and goes out and learns more. But people on Earth the whole environment is so conditioned to keep people from being able to bring back memory of where they go and what they do. Time you're an adult, your subconscious is so fixated that people have a hard time even understanding they can bring back full awareness of what they're doing when they're out of their body at night. It takes the use of higher faculties that are dormant, atrophied, that need exercising to get them back to health and functioning so people can do what they're supposed to be doing as a being, as an Atma, as a soul, as an individual being. This is why I suggest to people that they prepare and get energetically prepare for each of these journeys. One of the first things we always want to do is to set aside in your imagination all fears, concerns, or worries you have about yourself, your age, your life, relationships, money, taxes, governments, planets, future, everything. Just for this few moments, this time, we're putting it aside. You just imagine it being like a bunch of books and files on a computer on your shelf and put it all away. Anything to do with negative emotion, doubt, fear, speculation, theory, any of these negative things, we're shutting that off and putting it aside. And beings have this ability, whether they know it or not. It's easy for a being to close their eyes and imagine a hummingbird or a waterfall or a lake or a stream or some grass where they went last week on the weekend trip, because they do it all the time. But they're not seeing it in their brain. When the eyes are closed, the being is seeing it somewhere else, down the time track, in the mental plane, somewhere where it's recorded. But the brain and the eyes are not seeing it. When the eyes are closed, nothing's going through the eyes to the brain for you to see anything. This is important for people to understand, or they're never going to get this. Imagination is the being seeing out into the multidimensional universe. When writers write books or do things, they're actually seeing these other realities unconsciously and writing about them. Sometimes people and writers will write about lives they've lived in other galaxies and things they experienced. And they just think they're making it up in their brain on Earth. This is not true. It just isn't. Of course, the important part of this is that when people begin to understand what the imagination really is and how to work with it, they can begin to see into the multidimensional universe again, even from Earth, like other beings do. So, I ask that people put their fears and concerns and worries about everything aside, sit in a chair, lay on a couch, be in a car, roll up the windows, be quiet. And as we go into this process, the pineal gland in the center of the brain produces melatonin, creates serotonin, and it basically puts the body in a trance state we call sleep. It's the same trance state you put the body in when you go to sleep. Of course, people are tired. They want to kind of go unconscious from the day with the body. But this isn't what happens. When the body finally drifts off into this trance state, the heart and lungs are kept running on automatic while the being leaves. This is what this really is. And then beings sometimes bring back these clear memories of dreams, so startling, vivid, they look more colorful and real than being on Earth, but they don't understand them, usually. They're actually bringing back a memory because they had a positive experience out there, or they were very positive before they went to sleep, and they were able to bring back some memory of what they were doing. And most people just chalk it off and throw it away as they made it up in their mind, their brain, while the body was sleeping. So they don't attribute any importance to it. They don't build the momentum of understanding how all these outer body experiences add up to something, like a golden thread being woven through them to reveal some enlightening thing on the other side. I ask that people take several deep breaths, and as they're exhaling, let go of all their attachments to everything and fears about anything, just for a short time. Then imagine someone you love and respect, someone or something, whatever being you love and respect and are grateful that that is in your life, whatever that is, that brings a smile to your face or makes you feel love or gratitude or happiness. Even my little cat Starlight, I just think about him and I just start glowing I'm just happy to be with this little Atma running this kitty body because I know who he is. He's way more than a cat, and he's fun. He's my friend. We're friends with Terellian, who is an ambassador of a human race called the Say race. They're not like humans on Earth. They're very tall. They were before they immortalized their bodies over 1 billion years ago. They did not originate as human beings from this galaxy. This information alone can sometimes trigger things in people to help them recall what they're not taught on this planet, what people aren't talking about on radio shows, not even in the disclosure community. It goes a bit beyond races in this galaxy. What's underway now? Imagine someone you love, have respect for, and grateful they're in your life. Then I'm going to send out the tones through my vocal cords. It's a telepathic function. And as the tones raise in pitch, what we're doing is shutting off all subconscious negative emotional states. So we're shutting those off. What I call the new ray in the hue, which is the omnipresent first sound behind all creation, which exists in the high worlds as a pure energy and runs through everything, supporting everything, keeping everything in balance, connecting worlds, spinning around. stars, galaxies turning on their axis, etc., and so forth, throughout many levels and dimensions, far beyond physical matter, into higher realities. And believe me when I tell you, well, maybe I shouldn't say it that way, just understand, these places really do exist. Just because you've been made to forget about them doesn't mean they are not there. I will begin this hue, and then we'll go on a little journey. And as I do it, the pineal gland will secrete melatonin and serotonin. If you're sincere and if you're actually working with this, wherever you might be, you will feel a warmth and a calm. Pain will cease to be, you'll forget about pain in the body and things change. When I send out this tone, it's connected to the source itself. No intermediary. And each Atma, each soul, individual has this ability, but they've been made to forget it. It's like recharging the being. Just like you would imagine a butterfly, the sound of the ocean, with your feet in the warm sand, or having a winter coat on and rolling around in freshly laid snow, smelling a gardenia or a flower, imagining a hummingbird or a waterfall, or the moon at night circling the planet Earth. This people do all the time. When your body is in the trance state called sleep and you're conscious, like we are now, your eyes are closed. The mechanism of seeing is turned off. And when you see these things, it's because you, the being, is seeing them somewhere else. It has nothing to do with the brain at all. The body and the brain now are asleep. They're on automatic. The serotonin, melatonin that gets secreted and created through the pineal gland in this process when you put your body to bed at night puts the body in automatic. So the heart works and the lungs work and the blood circulates while you're gone. You have an energy connection that's quite invisible and unbreakable. It's not an astral cord or anything like that. It's much finer than that. And it keeps everything connected while you're out moving around. Okay, imagine being what it's like to see your body from the ceiling, looking down on it, sitting there or laying there. It's easy, you just imagine what it would look like if you were up there. Imagine being 1,000 feet up in the air, in the daytime or at night, wherever you are on Earth, looking down on your environment. You won't see arms and legs. You will perceive things through a sphere of energy in every direction, wherever you place your attention. You can look right down through the roof or building or car or wherever you are and see your body with its eyes closed there. You can see right through matter. You look up, you know there are stars in space. Be above the planet, floating as a sphere of luminous energy where you don't need to breathe. In the void of space, above planet Earth, looking down on the polar ice caps. The being has this ability while it has a body alive in a trance state called sleep. You can call it, it's in a meditative state or a contemplative state. But the being itself is very active in what it sees and knows when it's outside of the body. When you look into the depths of space here, because you're not using the physical eyes, you can see a white field of energy with specks of gold in it, vibrating everywhere in what you would appear to be from Earth with physical eyes, a black void of space. This energy is connecting planets and spheres and suns, and it goes through interdimensional doorways up into parallel and higher dimensions. You can see all the stars of space in every direction around planet Earth that make up the Milky Way galaxy, billions of them. You're going to look over and you're going to see that you are not the only being floating here. Perry and myself are also here. You'll get an impression when you look at and communicate toward one of these other beings floating here. You'll see an impression of their physical form as it is on Earth, so you know who it is. But you're really seeing it as the Atma, not through physical eyes. You'll see Terellian, who's a bit bigger, a little bit brighter being than us, but he doesn't put himself above others. He's just very advanced, very enlightened. As I mentioned, the Say-Race race immortalized their physical bodies, made them pure energy as part of themselves over 1 billion years ago. We get our genomes from them, as do many other races in the Milky Way galaxy, because they helped develop these forms to higher levels where Atmas could run them. There are also other beings here that have been welcomed to join us on this little journey. Husband and wives, men and women, masculine and feminine spheres, so to speak, from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. comprise a big organization of world systems in our Milky Way galaxy. There's 24 of them, and they're floating in a circle around Terellian. Why? Because Terellian serves as a central focal point to keep people focused so we can go on this journey together and gain something from it beneficial, not just be scattered. I'm going to suggest to this group, whoever you may be, on this journey through us tonight, we're going to go to a planet called Zeolite. Well, it's a planet, the name's not important, but it's located near the galactic core of the Milky Way galaxy in the physical universe. And it's where Galactic Alliance Council meets, 5,000 representative members in a huge dome structure on the surface of that world that represent more than 500 million world systems, advanced spacefaring races, in just 1/4 of our Milky Way galaxy. When I say 450 million plus more than 500, I'm talking about world systems made of physical matter in 144 parallel dimensions within the physical universe that they trade and travel between in their technology and their awareness. So it's not just the physical planets in the galaxy we're used to seeing through the Hubble telescope. It's 144 levels of it. You go beyond that, it becomes what's called the astral plane, where matters move through emotion, and there's a barrier, energy field between the two that keeps them separate. We're going to start to move in a circle, spheres of beings, like planets go around suns, around Terellian, and there's going to be a flash of light. And you're going to see out in space a blue-violet vortex open, extending out into the distance of space, horizontally from us. Not up, straight out. It's a tunnel that whirls like a tornado. It's not violent. It's an energy field that opens a doorway between Earth and thousands of light years away towards the center of the galactic core. You're going to find we're going to travel through this. We're going to dart through it like beams of light, right through this funnel opening. When you see around you as you're passing through it, it's moving at tremendous speed. You can see this blue-violet energy spinning around us. It doesn't harm us. It just creates a tunnel through space-time. It connects 2 points together, and we're going to come out the other side in space above a third planet from the sun. This world has other life on planetary bodies like moons circling it. And we're going to go down into the atmosphere of this planet, blue-green like Earth, 3 times larger than Earth. And we're going to come down in the atmosphere to a crystal towered city. Lots of plant growth and beautiful giant trees all around. Snow-capped mountain range circling in the distance. And a huge white ivory colored dome. You can see a pyramid structure and some other very elegant crystalline-like structures here. 2 suns up in the sky. It's a bipolar binar star system. Planets revolve around it. And you're going to see, as you approach this dome, here we are, kind of moving around Terellian. We come to stop, circle of people. And then we're going to pass right through the dome effortlessly. And inside, you're going to see a gigantic chamber under this huge dome. You can see through the dome and see the sky through it. It's semi-transparent. You can make out the sky. You're going to see tier after tier, like 15 tiers high, of white leather-like chairs that circle a white platform, circular disc platform down in the center. And there's over 5,000 beings sitting in these chairs with white robes with gold sashes from the upper right shoulder to the lower hip. They are human and humanoid, radiantly high energy. Some have bigger eyes than humans, long silver hair, violet eyes, red eyes, green, gold. Some have snake-like skin, but not scaly. Humanoid, very handsome, beautiful, just not like on Earth. And many human. They appear normal to you. There are empty seats in this auditorium, and you're going to find yourself hovering above one, and then you're going to experience yourself hanging in physical form here. The beings here can see you in a physical form like you are on Earth, but younger and healthier and more vital. This is a projection of energy from the Atma that you are, so that you can see and be part of the experience here. These beings have their actual physical bodies here. You have energetic bodies that look like a physical body that they can see. You have this ability whether you remember it or not. Down in the center on this platform, you're going to see a blue star flash into creation, hovering about 8-10 feet above this speaker's platform. And that blue star brightens and starts to spin. And then it widens into a white sphere like a sun. And then it materializes a very tall being standing there. He's 18 feet tall. Human with long blonde hair and crystal blue, robin's egg blue eyes, larger than humans, slightly pointed ears. And he has a big metallic book under his shoulder, under his arm, under his right arm. It says the Seirei's agenda. This agenda is the Seirei's agenda, not mine. And he places it on the floor. And he puts both his hands down to his side with the palms out, facing us. And he sends out a sound that echoes throughout the entire chamber. It's emanating from him as a being, not from vocal cords, and everybody hears it. It's very deep, like that. And you can feel it vibrating the atoms that make up your sphere. And it's uplifting and warm. And he begins to tell us, telepathically, about what is underway that is different now in creation that never existed before, that is designed to retire evil as an experiment in the lower dimensions. He's an emissary for this. He is an ambassador of the Seirei's race, which vanished from this Milky Way galaxy over 1 billion years ago, to let the races, younger races, and the beings that run those bodies see what they would do with it. The result of that has been chaos to a large degree. But everybody's learned something. Terellian begins to show you in holographic 3 dimensions in a sphere projected above the heads of everyone the actual history of the Galactic Alliance. The end of a war 500,000 years ago that destroyed many worlds. The treaty that was signed. The tyrant nature of beings that were defeated but not destroyed. And the Cold War they've embarked upon ever since then, and how it's been policed and monitored. And a lot of these influences back then resulted in people being on Earth with no memory. This is something you experience in a higher state, away from the Earth, in an environment, a secure environment of very high, evolved, wise beings who do not see themselves or place themselves above us. On the contrary, they think it's remarkable that people so suppressed on Earth could imagine being here with them, even after all that was done to them. This is what surprises them. This is what intrigues them. It's our potential once it's unleashed. You're going to feel an energy. You're going to see a pyramid appear on the floor next to Terellian, and it's going to grow in size in the round white floor that encircles this elevated circular disc platform he's standing on. It's a golden-sided pyramid. It gets to be 15 feet high, and then it starts sending out pulsing waves of energy, like donut-shaped energies that pass through us and out through the walls of this dome, out into the atmosphere of this planet. And they keep going through the universe, all the way back to Earth. They connect with a giant pyramid floating in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter, and then to 3 that are on the Earth. 2 in the bottoms of Earth's deepest oceans, and 1 inside a mountain in the Himalayas. And it passes through them, and the energy passes on the other side. In every direction, these pyramids emanate these donut-shaped pulses of light in every direction. They continue upward through the planet's crust, through all the people on Earth, animal and plant life, and out into space. And it continues this way. The pyramid that is there beside Terellian first started appearing in higher dimensions above the physical universe. The Sayres, Terellian was the first to present this to the Galactic Alliance Council, which improved and evolved their consciousness almost instantly to begin to co-create with beings from higher realities the retiring of this experiment that's many billions of years old, we call evil, a failed experiment that ended up working so well it trapped most Atmas, many Atmas in the lower dimensions who don't remember what their original purpose was in coming here. That purpose is to return to the source from whence we came, after all this struggle, to deliver new ways of doing things that the source itself, the supreme being, does not yet know. Why? Because each being, like a drop of pure energy, individualized, fits into a mighty ocean of this same energy, and they're telepathically connected. We never lose individuality as beings, but the source itself and the omnipresent living energy that runs through all creation is not a soul as we think of it. It's an energy field that's intelligent and conscious, that is comprised of all of us linked together. And this is the Supreme Source. The Supreme Source never requested, demanded, or insisted or encouraged any of us to worship it. We were encouraged to respect all life in all worlds and all levels, and to work together in co-creative harmony with it. This is the purpose of the individualization of beings, souls, Atmas, what we are really, that isn't a physical body. In this energy field, in this dome, you begin to remember. Terellian looks at all of us and just smiles and says, remember. 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 All right, now we're going to find ourselves respectfully smiling at the people here, who can see us. We're going to rise above those seats in our spherical form, find ourselves hovering around Terellian above this dome on this alien, distant planet. And then we're going to suddenly find ourselves, not through a vortex this time, but instantly back hovering above planet Earth in the void of space, looking down on the polar ice caps and the blue-green oceans of planet Earth. This experience from here, send it down into your brain and to your body that's in the trance state, right back there on Earth. Remember. 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 Then you're going to see Terellian vanish. And I'm going to greet everybody and say, Now we return to hover above our physical bodies, wherever they may be on earth, to look down upon that body in the trance state called sleep. And when you're ready, open your eyes. It's important that people think this for themselves and create this for themselves, because if they don't, who's going to cause them to remember anything? They have to be involved on the journey co-creatively. This is going to be easier or harder for some people, but I can say that the beings who endeavored to go on this journey actually went on it. Whether they believe it or really have a good solid reality on it again or not is not what's important. It's how the energy of this pure omnipresent force begins to help change them for the better. They begin to remember many things. So that's a good journey, and we've completed that journey now. There is 1 billion places we can go in the physical universe, and 1 trillion more we can go in higher dimensions. As you know, Perry, we go to some of them in private and in group sessions. At first, it seems really uplifting, but strange what you remember and what you experience in these realities. What's important is that people begin to understand they have and always have had the capability to do this, whether they believe it or not yet. They do. The Atma, the real being, not the body. That remains on Earth as physical matter of this world, unless you get on a ship and take it somewhere. That kind of thing. So, is there anything you'd like to say or to your people or listeners or anything like that?
Scott, I have questions like me time to time during this journey we might sleep. Okay, so what you want to tell us is okay, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a good point. If they happen to nod off during this, it's because of the habit of putting the body to sleep and going unconscious with the body. They think that's what they're doing. They're actually not. They're leaving the body aware, but they don't, there's nothing in their training or upbringing tells them to actually work their imagination to send the recording of what they did back in the body when they return. So they don't do it most of the time. When they really go up at night and they're very up and they're happy and they take nothing of a negative nature when they leave the body at night, they generally bring back more memory. When they take fear of what's going to happen tomorrow in the world and the nuclear, they take that into the dream state, they get very negative results or none at all. That's because their imagination is being unconsciously used to create the very things they don't want to see or experience. And they can change that. I hope that answers that.
Everybody to keep practicing it, doing it, whether you believe or not at first place, but just do it.
Yeah, the hue, well, you could call it something else, but it doesn't matter what language you speak, Chinese or Japanese or African, some language there, or Russian, it's still hue. It sounds the same in any language, on any world. It's just because when you do it with your vocal cords or even silently in your imagination, it begins to vibrate the pineal gland, the center brain, in a certain way. And the little rods and cones in it, like the ones you have in your eyes for detecting frequency, are designed to detect frequency from other realities. The physical eyes are designed to detect frequency within a narrow band of matter on this planet. But the pineal gland works quite differently, especially when it's awakened and used. It begins to stimulate and vibrate, and it opens like a communication network to the source itself, through and with beings who are connected to it and know what it is, and they help us. So it comes with a certain protected energy that people need to experience for themselves, because otherwise it's just my words saying it to them. But by their own experience, they begin to feel an upliftment or a warmth or a change, or the pain leaves them, and they go through a conscious awareness that something beneficial is happening to them. If people experience something frightening using the hue, it's not in the hue. It's because they're taking something frightening into it and trying to bring it into the hue and have it help them. It will not do that. The hue does not work with any negative things. It works with the true nature of the Atma to co-create with it, not all the fear and negative stuff. So if people relax and imagine someone they love and respect and are grateful in their life and breathe and go into this properly, they won't take any of that earth stuff with them, and their experience will be warm and uplifting and constructive. There is nothing of any negative nature in the hue, in the omnipresent sound that supports all life. No negative. It is an energy that exists before positive and negative was ever created. And we as beings exist before that was created too. The nature of the Atma is literally eternal, meaning it didn't come into existence in the lower dimensions of space and time. And it always exists either in space and time, beyond it, outside of space and time, in the higher realms, or in all simultaneously. Because the Atma has multi-dimensional characteristics. It can run a number of bodies on a number of planes at one time, and it does. So you can learn how to run the astral universe that's moved by emotion, causal by causation, mental by mental, by thought, and the etheric through very fine attunement with the worlds beyond the void known to the Buddhists. There's a direct, stronger link over that void to the upper worlds when you're in the etheric plane. Some people refer to it as the subconscious, but that's only because people on earth are not conscious of it, usually, so it's subconscious. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, or should we wrap this one up?
No, I just want to say, it's fun when we start to recall who we are, but to have fun, we have to start from practicing first.
Yeah, exercising the imagination and what it is with understanding. If you don't know what it is or how to use it or how to use it correctly, you won't. That's the first thing to help people recover, is what the imagination is that isn't the brain and how to work it properly. And they start exercising, turning on these higher faculties. It's pretty cool.
Oh, one more thing, Scott, I'd like to say. You just have to trust yourself when you imagine, you're seeing something, because many times, like, is it true that we see that, So we have to go through this, trust
Whenever
yourself.
a voice tells anybody they can't do this and they can't see that, it's a subconscious, negative, terrorizing program implanted in their subconscious, not in the brain, in an energy field around the sphere that runs that body, through which they see the universe incorrectly. Tyrants can't destroy an Atma. They don't even know how to affect its energy, but they can put an energy field around it that misdirects people's what they see and know. And it's that needs to come under the command of each Atma so that it doesn't affect them. And eventually it's dissolved away, gotten rid of, so they can see and breathe again in the universe, like they're supposed to. It takes a little exercising, a little bit of effort to move the imagination creatively into the comfortable place where it's effortless and the confidence has returned to utilize it. So when somebody sees something, they know they're really seeing. It's the subconscious little whispers of negative nature that tell people, you can't see that. That's just being made up in your brain. As I've already explained, you can't imagine anything in the brain at all. That is a lie. That's a negative program, because the brain is not designed. There's no motion picture camera in the brain or projection screen. It can't do that. It's not designed to see things. People on earth have got that all wrong. That's not what it's for. It's a multi-billion circuited neuron system for running the different aspects of the body. And the being pushes them like switches to run things through the pineal gland, the governing center of a being, a human being. Most beings get in and out of their body through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. At night when they go to sleep, they can leave through some other part of the body, but it's really an illusion. There's a doorway for this. And if you want to control people and keep them as slaves on earth or anywhere else, or keep them ignorant of the truth, get them to not know anything about the pineal gland at all. And you've got them. They won't remember. So this reverses that process. This is the beginning of it. And I want to say I wish everybody wonderful, pleasant dreams. Remember to only take something of a loving nature with you into the dream state before you put your body to sleep at night. You get much greater results. So I'll stop this session now.
Okay, Scott, thank you.
You're very welcome.